You've got a freezer, maybe two if there's a chest freezer humming out in the garage. And somewhere in there right now is food you froze to save money that you're going to throw away instead. I know because I've done it, we all have. You buy the big bag of something on sale, you freeze half, and 3 months later you thaw it out and it's mush or it's watery or it's just wrong somehow, and into the trash it goes. That wasn't the freezer's fault. The freezer's a fine tool. It just doesn't work on everything, and nobody ever hands you the list of what it ruins. So that's what today is. 10 foods you should never freeze, and for most of them, what to do instead. Because I'm not going to leave you standing there with a cucumber and no plan. Number 1 is the one that surprises the most people, and it's the only one on this list that can actually make you sick. We'll get there. Number 10, lettuce, cucumbers, celery, anything you'd put in a salad. Here's the thing about a cucumber. It's water wearing a green jacket. Same with lettuce. And when water freezes, it expands. It bursts every little cell in that vegetable from the inside. And when it thaws, all that water runs right out and you're left with a limp, slimy rag. There's no trick that fixes it. No salting, no pressing, nothing. So don't freeze salad vegetables, period. If you've got cucumbers coming out of your ears in August, and if you garden, you do pickle them or grate them and freeze that for a cold soup where texture doesn't matter. But nothing that's going back on a plate raw. That door is closed. Number 9, raw potatoes. Every fall, somebody buys the 10-pound bag on sale, worries it'll sprout, and tosses it in the freezer whole. Come January, they thaw one out, and it's gray, grainy, and sweet in a way a potato has no business being. The cold turns the starch to sugar and wrecks the texture both. But here's what the freezer does beautifully. Cooked potatoes, mashed potatoes freeze wonderfully. Twice-baked potatoes, freeze them. If you want fries or hash browns, cook the potato most of the way first. Boil it a few minutes, cool it, then freeze. The cooking settles the starch down so the cold can't ruin it. Raw, never, cooked, all day long. Number 8, eggs in the shell. Eggs freeze fine, actually, but not in the shell. The inside expands, the shell cracks, and now you've got raw egg weeping through a broken shell in your freezer, which is a mess and a food safety problem in one package. The right way costs you 2 minutes. Crack them, whisk them lightly, pour them into an ice cube tray. Once they're solid, pop them into a bag. 2 cubes is about 1 egg. When eggs go on sale, really on sale, I do 3 dozen this way, and I bake off that stash all winter. Same egg, 10th of the trouble. By the way, tricks like that egg one, I've got a whole book of them. Everything I do to run this house for less, written down in one place. It's on my website, the link's right below the video. Go get it if you want it. That's all I'll say about it. Number 7, fried food. Fried chicken, French fries from the drive-thru, anything with a crispy coating. The whole point of fried food is the crunch, and the crunch is the first thing the freezer kills. Frozen and thawed, that coating turns to a damp sock wrapped around the meat. The steam that comes off it as it thaws soaks right into the crust, and no amount of reheating brings it all the way back. If you've got leftover fried chicken, it keeps 3 or 4 days in the fridge, and it reheats decent in a hot oven, never the microwave. The microwave finishes the job the freezer started. Eat it inside the week. Fried food is a today and tomorrow food. It was never meant to wait for you. Number 6, the soft dairy cream cheese, sour cream, cottage cheese, yogurt. These are all basically milk fat and water holding hands, and freezing makes them let go. Thaw a tub of sour cream and you'll find a grainy, curdled-looking mess sitting in a puddle. It's not spoiled, it's just broken, and it doesn't come back together no matter how hard you stir. Now, one honest exception, because I won't pretend the rule has no cracks in it. If that broken cream cheese is going into a baked dish, a casserole, a batch of muffins where it's getting melted and mixed anyway, it's fine. The texture problem disappears in the oven. So if cream cheese is $1 a block at Christmas, buy a few, freeze them, and mark them baking only. Just don't ever plan to spread one on a bagel. You'll be disappointed every time. Now we're halfway, and before we get to the back 5, let me give you the one idea that explains this whole list, because once you have it, you won't need me anymore. When water freezes slowly, and a home freezer freezes slowly, it forms big, jagged ice crystals. Little knives, really. Those knives punch through everything soft around them. That's why the cucumber collapses, that's why the sour cream breaks, that's why thawed strawberries slump. The more water in a food and the softer that food is, the worse the freezer treats it. Dense, dry, cooked things freeze well. Wet, delicate, raw things don't. That's the whole science in one sentence you can use in your own kitchen forever. Hold on to that, because the back half of this list is where the real grocery money is: the sauces, the make-ahead meals, the stuff people batch cook on a Sunday and ruin by Thursday. And number 1 is the one I'd want you to remember if you forget everything else. Number 5. Cream sauces and gravy. If you've ever frozen leftover gravy from a holiday, you already know. It thaws into a watery layer with greasy lumps floating in it, and whisking just makes angry, lumpy water. Anything thickened with flour or cornstarch and built on milk or cream does this. The thickener lets go of the liquid in the cold, and the milk fat separates out, and the marriage is over. Here's the fix, and it's the one that makes batch cooking actually work. Freeze the meal before the creamy part goes in. Making a big pot of something that ends with cream stirred in? Stop right before the cream. Freeze it there. The night you serve it, thaw it, heat it, add the cream, fresh. Takes 30 seconds and it tastes like you made the whole thing that day. Same with gravy. Freeze your drippings and broth, thick and fresh. The base freezes like a champ. It's the finish that can't take the cold. Number 4, cooked pasta and rice sitting in liquid. Somebody makes a beautiful pot of chicken noodle soup, freezes half, and thaws it a month later to find the noodles have drunk up the broth and turned to paste. The soup didn't fail, the noodles did. Cooked pasta and rice keep drinking whatever they sit in, freezer or no freezer, and they swell and split and go to mush. The fix costs you almost nothing. Freeze the soup without the noodles. When you reheat it, throw a handful of dry noodles straight into the simmering pot, 8 minutes, and done. Your soup tastes fresh made every single time, and you'll never fish another bloated noodle out of a container again. This one change is the difference between people who say freezer soup is gross and people who eat well all winter for pennies. Number 3, mayonnaise and anything made with it. Potato salad, egg salad, chicken salad, coleslaw with a mayo dressing. Mayonnaise is oil and egg whipped into a truce, and freezing breaks the truce. It thaws as a slick of oil sitting on top of curdled sadness, and it takes the whole salad down with it. There is no rescue. I've watched people try. You cannot whisk it back. So when there's potato salad left after a cookout, it lives in the fridge, and it gets eaten within 3 or 4 days, and that's the whole plan. And if you're making food ahead for a big gathering, make the parts ahead, boil the potatoes, cook the chicken, those freeze fine, and mix in the dressing the day of. 10 minutes of work and nothing wasted. Number 2, fresh soft herbs, basil, parsley, cilantro, frozen bare. Toss a bag of fresh basil in the freezer as is, and you'll pull out blackened slime. Those leaves are as delicate as lettuce, and the ice knives shred them instantly. But this is my favorite one on the whole list, because the fix is better than the original. Chop your herbs, pack them into an ice cube tray, and cover them with olive oil. Freeze, bag the cubes, done. The oil coats the leaves so the ice can't get at them, and now every cube is a ready-made start to dinner drop. One frozen into a hot pan, and you've got fresh herb flavor in January from basil you grew in July. They sell little jars of herb paste at the store for $4 or $5. This is that, for the cost of a splash of oil. If your garden buries you in basil every summer, this one trick pays for your time watching this video. And number 1, anything that has already been frozen and thawed on the counter. This is the one that isn't just about texture. This is the one about your family's health. So let me say it carefully and honestly, because there's a lot of half-right advice floating around on this. If you thawed meat in the refrigerator and your plans changed, you can refreeze it. That's true, and I want you to know it's true, because people throw away perfectly good food over this every day. It stayed cold the whole time. The quality drops a little, it'll be a bit drier, but it's safe. But if that package of chicken sat out on the counter all afternoon or thawed in the microwave and then sat while you got busy, no, never back in the freezer. Here's the plain reason why. Freezing doesn't kill the bugs that cause food poisoning. It just puts them to sleep. Warm the food up, they wake up and multiply fast, and when you refreeze it, you're not erasing any of that. You're just pressing pause on a problem, and it's all still there waiting when you thaw it the second time. The freezer is not a reset button. It never was. If meat got warm, cook it now or let it go. That's a hard rule in my kitchen, and it should be one in yours. Now, before you go, I want you to think for a minute about why nobody ever taught you this list. Walk the frozen aisle at the grocery store. There's frozen cream sauce dishes in there, frozen fried food, frozen pasta meals. Every single thing I just told you not to freeze, they sell frozen, and theirs mostly works. How? Because they flash freeze it in minutes at temperatures your freezer will never see. So the ice crystals stay too small to do damage, and they add stabilizers to hold the sauces together. You can't do that at home. They know you can't. So follow the money. Every time your home frozen meal comes out ruined, you learn a quiet little lesson. Freezing my own food doesn't really work. And the next time, you buy their frozen version at 4 times the price. Or you throw out the leftovers and buy fresh again. The average family in this country throws out a shocking amount of the food they pay for, and nobody up the chain loses a dime when you do. They gain one. There's no conspiracy in it. It's just that nobody who profits from your grocery bill has any reason to teach you which foods freeze and which don't. So I did. Here's your first step, and it's easy. Tonight, open your freezer and find one thing off this list: the bag of cucumber slices, the tub of gravy, the container of noodle soup. Deal with it now, while you're thinking about it, instead of finding it in April. And next time you batch cook, stop before the cream, leave out the noodles, and you'll wonder why nobody told you sooner. Now tell me in the comments, what's the worst thing you ever pulled out of a freezer? What did you freeze that you shouldn't have? And if you've got a freezing trick I didn't cover, put it down there, because I read those and I learn as much from you as you do from me. Next time, I'm doing the opposite list, the foods people swear you can't freeze that actually freeze beautifully. Milk, eggs, cheese, bread, butter. There's real money in that one, especially with prices doing what they're doing. Until then, remember, the freezer's a good tool. You just have to know what it's for. See you next time.